Have you ever felt like you're being ghosted by someone, like they're just ignoring you out of the blue? It's a pretty crappy feeling, right? Well, today we're going to get real about why people do this and what it really means. Let's face it, being ignored can be a major blow to our self-esteem. We start wondering if we've done something wrong or if we're just not good enough. But here's the thing, it's often not about us at all. It's about the other person's issues. And today we're going to expose the truth. Reason number one, fear of getting close. Some people are afraid of getting hurt, so they build walls around themselves. They might ignore us because they're scared of letting us in. Look, we've all been there. That moment when vulnerability rears its head and we are faced with a choice. Embrace the fear of letting someone in or retreat to the safety of our self-made prisons of isolation. To choose the former is to risk the searing pain of betrayal. To choose the latter is to condemn ourselves to a life half-lived. These individuals, scarred by past battles of the heart, have chosen to retreat. They have felt the sting of rejection, the agony of loss, the soul-crushing weight of heartbreak, and so they choose to shut out the world, to keep everyone at arm's length, to avoid the very real possibility of reliving those painful memories. They go through life like phantoms, observing but never engaging, present but never truly there. Their fear, while understandable, becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. By pushing others away, they ensure that they remain alone, trapped in a cycle of self-sabotage. But here's the hard truth. Vulnerability, while terrifying, is also the key to true connection. It is the bridge that allows us to build meaningful relationships, to experience the joy of intimacy, to truly love and be loved in return. So the next time you encounter someone hiding behind a wall of indifference, remember that they are not being malicious. They are simply afraid. And while it is not your responsibility to save them, your understanding and compassion can be a beacon of hope in their self-imposed darkness. Reason number two, control and power. Let's be real. Some people are just plain manipulative. They might ignore us because they want to feel in control or because they're trying to punish us. The puppet masters, the ones who derive pleasure from the suffering of others. These individuals are masters of manipulation, using silence as a weapon to inflict pain and assert their dominance. They crave control, and what better way to achieve it than by holding our attention hostage, keeping us guessing, leaving us desperate for their approval. They dangle the carrot of their attention only to yank it away at the slightest whim. They thrive on the power dynamics they create, reveling in the knowledge that they can make us feel small, insignificant, unworthy. Their silence is not a sign of weakness, but a calculated tactic designed to keep us off balance, to erode our self-worth, to break us down. These individuals are often driven by deep-seated insecurities of their own. They may have experienced a lack of control in other areas of their lives, and so they seek to compensate by exerting power over those around them. Their need for control is a mask for their own vulnerability, a desperate attempt to feel powerful in a world that often makes them feel small. But here's the thing, we are not obligated to play their games. We can choose to walk away from the chessboard, to refuse to be pawns in their twisted game of emotional manipulation. Their silence loses its power when we refuse to give it meaning. Remember, true power lies not in controlling others, but in mastering oneself. When we recognize the manipulative tactics being used against us, we empower ourselves to break free from their grip. We reclaim our voice, our sense of self, our right to exist without being controlled. Chapter 3. Avoiding conflict. Reason number 3, avoiding conflict. We've all been there. We don't want to rock the boat, so we avoid confronting the issue. But ignoring someone is not a healthy way to deal with conflict. Conflict. The very word sends shivers down the spines of some. It conjures up images of shouting matches, hurt feelings, and irreparable damage. So what do some people do? They avoid it like the plague. And how better to avoid conflict than to simply pretend the other person doesn't exist? They believe that by ignoring the problem it will magically disappear. But as we all know, life doesn't work that way. Ignoring a problem doesn't make it go away. It simply allows it to fester and grow like a wound that never gets to heal. These individuals may have good intentions. They may genuinely believe that they are sparing everyone's feelings by avoiding confrontation. But in reality, they are doing more harm than good. Their silence is a form of passive aggression, a way of expressing their displeasure without actually having to address the issue at hand. This avoidance can stem from a fear of confrontation, a lack of communication skills, or simply a desire to maintain a superficial sense of harmony. But whatever the reason, it is important to remember that healthy relationships require open and honest communication. Sweeping problems under the rug might seem like the easier option in the short term, but it will inevitably lead to resentment, misunderstandings, and a breakdown of trust in the long run. Chapter 4, Emotional Manipulation. Reason number 4, emotional manipulation. This is a big one. Some people might ignore us because they're trying to manipulate our emotions. They might want us to feel guilty, anxious, or insecure. This one cuts deep, doesn't it? Being ignored as a form of emotional manipulation is a cruel and insidious tactic employed by those who seek to control and dominate others. It is a game of power, and we are the unwilling pawns. The perpetrator, often someone who craves control and feeds off the emotional energy of others, uses silence as a weapon to instill fear, guilt, and self-doubt in their victim. They withhold affection, attention, and communication as a means of punishment, hoping to break down our resolve and mold us into a version of ourselves that better suits their needs. They might disappear for days, weeks, or even months, only to reappear as if nothing has happened, offering breadcrumb trails of affection to keep us hooked on their intermittent reinforcement. This cycle of hot and cold behavior creates an addictive dynamic, leaving us constantly craving their validation and questioning our own worth. The goal of the manipulator is to keep us off balance, to make us feel insecure and unworthy of their love and attention. They want us to believe that their silence is our fault, that we are somehow responsible for their withdrawal. This self-blame and constant need for their approval can erode our sense of self, leaving us feeling emotionally drained and utterly dependent on their validation. Chapter 5, Personal Issues. Reason number 5, personal issues. Finally, some people might ignore us because they're dealing with their own stuff. They might be stressed, anxious, or depressed, and they don't have the emotional energy to deal with us. Life is a battlefield. We're all fighting our own battles, some more visible than others, and sometimes the weight of those battles becomes too heavy to bear. We retreat into ourselves, seeking solace in the silence, hoping to gather the strength to face another day. When someone is going through a difficult time, whether it be a personal loss, a health crisis, or simply the overwhelming pressure of everyday life, they may not have the emotional capacity to engage with others in a meaningful way. Their silence is not a reflection of their feelings towards us, but rather a symptom of their own internal struggles. They may be struggling to keep their heads above water, desperately trying to stay afloat amidst a sea of emotions. Reaching out, even to those they care about most, can feel like an insurmountable task, requiring an expenditure of energy they simply do not possess. It is important to remember that everyone copes with stress and adversity in different ways. Some people become withdrawn and introverted, while others lash out in anger and frustration. There is no right or wrong way to deal with pain, and judging someone for their coping mechanisms will only serve to isolate them further. And there you have it, the brutal truth about being ignored. It's not always easy to hear, but it's time to stop taking it personally. You deserve better than to be ignored, and it's time to take back control. Thanks for watching. If you want to learn more about how to deal with difficult people, be sure to check out our next video. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more content.